Hello there. So I've been busy making a lot of AI tools since ChatGPT came out. And I'm going to give you my top tips. So if you're making your own tool, either with code or you're using a platform like ours, to make AI tools, hopefully you will find these tips useful. This is 2 years of learning compressed into a quick video. So just to give you a little bit of background, I started off making tools in Google Sheets initially because it was kind of quick to do. And when we say tool, we mean something that combines kind of multiple steps. So it'll either be multiple prompts or there can be other steps as well, like scraping websites and things like that. So this is one I made that makes fiction books. So you literally just put your idea, step one. So a young hobbit that finds a magical ring, completely unique idea there. You run the tool and then it kind of follows all the prompts. And by the end of this tool, and this hasn't finished running yet, but by the end of it, you actually have like a 50,000 word book, a story. So that's what we mean by tools. I made loads of those to start with, about 30 tools in Sheets. And then we moved over to our own platform where anyone can make and sell tools and things like that. I made about 100 tools on here to populate it as well. Yeah, same idea. So they go through multiple steps to produce output. So first tip in terms of what makes a good tool, something that only requires a little bit of input but needs lots of output. So that's why the story writers are quite popular. You just give it an idea for a story, and then it gives you a finished book. Other ones, it can be like SEO content. So you just come up with like a theme or a keyword you want to target, and it does the whole article. Anything like that, where you need a lot of words, 5,000 word guides and stuff like that. There's also other types of useful tools as well. So tools that give you advice and things like that. But yeah, where you don't need too much from the user, that just tends to be a good starting point. But you're giving the user a lot of content back or something that the AI has thought about a lot. So generally, the AI content most of the time, it's kind of like a 5 out of 10 in terms of quality. So it's not as good as like a human or a human professional yet. But what tends to work well to improve the quality quite quickly is to give the user an option to kind of keep what they've got or swap it or let the user tweak it along the way. So you're not just relying on the AI, the humans kind of acting like a filter. So for example, this tool, you can pause it whilst it's running like I have done. This is the one that writes a 5,000 word guide on any subject that you can kind of make into a PDF and use as a lead hook for your website. So you can pause this, you can either tell the AI to have another go if you're not happy with the chapter list, or you can just literally go in, put in your own chapter titles instead, whatever you want, and then you update it and the AI carries on from there. So that small tweak there will have a big effect on what the AI writes about. And yeah, that will then kind of affect the final output. So instead of being a 5 out of 10, we can very quickly get it to 8 out of 10 finished version within a few minutes just by kind of keeping an eye on it and making those tweaks along the way. So that's the first tip. Second tip is kind of what you use in the prompt. So the prompt that you use makes a big difference to the output. So we found small differences in the wording. For example, if you say to the AI, tell me about this subject, and then verse, teach me about this subject, or elaborate on this subject, explain this subject, just 1 or 2 words difference in the prompt will kind of change the style of writing comes out to the AI, and you'll have, depending on the kind of type of content you're trying to produce or the output, that'll make a big difference. It'll make it more suitable. So yeah, pay attention to kind of each word on the prompt, especially if it's a short prompt. A couple of words here or there will really change the style of the output. Things to kind of watch out for, I suppose. So normally with a tool, the longer the tool goes on, the more complicated the prompt will become. And then the AI kind of starts to struggle to follow instructions then. So these tools, that one's 21 steps, for example. So by the time we get to chapter 10, you're probably feeding in a summary of the other 9 chapters that you've given it already. So it knows what not to repeat, what comes next and things like that. So by then, it starts to get confused easily. So you've got to trial and error, decide what bits to pass on. So for this, instead of passing on the entire 9 chapters, we just pass on the summaries of the 9 chapters. So the prompt's not too long. You have to kind of trial and error it depending on how complicated the next instruction is. So the AI doesn't get confused. One thing that struggles in as well a lot is negatives. So if you say, don't talk about X, it will talk about X even more, especially as the prompt gets longer. As if it's a really short prompt, sometimes that's okay. But if it's a long prompt, all the things you tell not to talk about, it talks about it. So that can be like infuriating when you're trying to prompt something and it just does it more and more. So you can do instead either say have 0 mentions of X. So it's not a negative. It hasn't got to like logically think about it and reverse it. It's just go for 0, or even better, so you can just say something different. So use Y style or talk about Y. So you don't mention X at all, basically. and you just give it something else almost to distract it on the output, and that can work as well. That can help if you're struggling. Like sometimes with the stories, for example, it always foreshadows the next chapter, and sometimes it ruins the story. It'll be like scene one, chapter one, and little did they know aliens were coming to get them, and then it ruins the story. So you say, don't foreshadow, and then it foreshadows even more. So instead, you would say, finish the chapter in this style, like with a focus on this. It's just anything that's to distract it from foreshadowing it instead. And that can work as well. Another thing to watch out for, I suppose, is OpenAI always updating the models. If that's who you're using or whatever API you're using, they tend to kind of tweak the models a lot based on training data. So one minute you'll say, give me a numbered list for an SEO article or whatever, for a plan, and it will work. And then the next day, the numbers will come out with like a dot after each number. And the day after that, the numbers will come out and the numbers are surrounded in brackets instead. And it kind of messes up the next step if you're using code to pick up on that list and separate it out. And then all of a sudden, your code's working one day, and then you check it a week later and you've tweaked the model and the code doesn't work. That's another one. Yeah, obviously there's stuff you can do to try and make the code robust in case of that, but sometimes it's just good to go back to a tool you made a few months ago and just check that it's still working, basically. Another thing that can make a good tool is really just asking the right questions to the AI as well, so having to think about that. So this one comes up with ideas for what's called a 100 million offer or a Grand Slam offer based on Alex Hormozy. It didn't need any kind of copyright material from his book. It was just a case of asking the right questions. So we say to the AI, what other problems could someone solve that people in this industry don't normally think about? And then it kind of gives you a list. We do that multiple times. And then we ask the next question, what's the cheapest way I could solve this if I had no budget using software or whatever? And so on and so on. So it's just a list of questions, really, having the right questions, both to the person and getting the information from them and to the AI. Can really help you produce a good tool. So you've just got to figure out what those questions are, and that kind of guides the thought process that the AI goes down to give you useful information. So yeah, that's the top tips really. Make more sense kind of as you get into it. I think this is our platform anyway. If you are interested in making AI tools, you could kind of make them and sell them on here. So anything that you're an expert in, you probably be able to make a decent tool on here. As a free tool maker. And you just add blocks. You may want a prompt block where you talk to the AI, but usually you'll have to use a question at the start. So yeah, if you're an expert in SEO, you'd be, what would you like the article to be about? And then the next will be like a prompt where you talk to the AI and you just kind of insert their answer from book zero. Okay. Okay. Article about, and then we usually like to put quotes and stuff around it so the AI knows that the kind of answer's been inserted, and that sends that off to ChatGPT, or you can use Llama or whatever you want to. So that's our build if you're interested in building tools. But yeah, hope you find those tips useful.